freaking first cut. Golly.
Well, what's going on, YouTube? Victory in Las Vegas, and it comes with plenty of drama. We're going to discuss the Shriners Children's Open and everything else that went on in the world of golf this week. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll get started right now. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gaiman, joined tonight first by Mark Immelman. Mark, good to see you.
How's it, boys? Good to see all of you. It's been a while. I'm still alive and doing all right and enjoying some time off. So, yeah, good, man. And it was fun to watch a little golf this afternoon. I just, for the record, I have to admit that I'm not a big fan of Tom Brady after this afternoon in the Falcons, but otherwise we're good.
You thought you had a 21-point comeback there for a second, and then, kind of got ripped away from you a bit.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, things are on the up because, like, for the first time since like 2019 or something, the Falcons were on a 2-game win streak. So it was all dandy for a little while there.
They're the only team who has covered the spread in every single game this season. So they're at least covering, Mark. They're at least covering if they're not winning.
Betting on my boys, aren't you? That's
right.
There you go. Yeah.
Greg Ducharme is here. Gregors, hi, good to see you.
What's going on, boys? Fired up. What a day in the game of golf. Football was something else too this morning. But that was quite a finish we just witnessed. I mean, it looked like, Mark, I hate to bring this up, but it looked like a different Atlanta Falcons game against Tom Brady. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was something else this afternoon.
Yeah, we are hot here, literally seconds after the Shriners Children's Open finished up. We'll dive into that, specifically the 72nd hole. But before we do, let me remind you that first cut merch that I saw out at TPC Summerlin this week, it's 20% off for the rest of the year. Use the code FIRSTCUT20. There is a link in both the video of this, the description, in the audio description. The code you're looking for, again, FIRSTCUT20 for all your, shot glasses, hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all that fun stuff. Gentlemen, my goodness. We stepped on the 72nd tee with Patrick Cantlay and Tom Kim dueling it out. Both of them 24 under par. Both of them 5 under for the day. Mark, on the tee box, this thing had playoff implications. It looked like it was going to be who's going to make a birdie first. It did not necessarily end that way, but for 71 holes, this thing was tight.
Yeah, and it's the craziest thing too, because to be honest with you, it's not the hardest tee shot in the world. Now, with a final hole and a tournament on the line, yeah, it's a little different, but there's oodles of room off to the right-hand side. And I've been there when Patrick Cantlay has won this thing before, and he always hits this sort of tight draw a little bit off that tee. And it looked to me like the golf course was playing fast. So you could have geared back if you want, but anything down the right side and you're playing golf, anything down the left and you're obviously in trouble. And that miss was incomprehensible, honestly, for a guy who had been driving the ball great the entire week. To miss it left, it's the only place you don't hit. Honestly, I think of the shots coming in, the hardest one that you have to hit is the tee shot down 17. Now, look, it's daunting to attack that front left hole location on 18 there, but you just got a scoring club in your hand. So if you want to go and play offense, it's difficult. But I thought once they were on 17 green, okay, it's open season now. And when he hit that thing, I was like, my goodness gracious me. He took leave of himself mentally there for a minute and hit in the one place that you just couldn't afford to.
The shot that Patrick Cantlay hit, Greg, was a draw into the desert on the left-hand side of 18. He drew a horrible lie, opted to try to advance it back into the fairway, could not extract himself from that position, ends up taking a unplayable. And then a very interesting conversation happens where him and his caddy are looking at the leaderboard going, okay, well, we're 3 shots clear of second place. Should I go for it from here? Right? Like, this is such an awkward position to be in the desert. I have to fly it over the water. Things unraveled very, very quickly for Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, you're saying at that point, okay, well, I'm not going to win now because I gave it my one chance to try to get it back out into play, knock it on the green and make a putt for par. And that would basically keep it going. And once it goes into the bush and now you got to take it unplayable, the whole thing's over. So now you're thinking about second place, and that is so far from your thoughts all day long, especially on the 72nd tee as it goes. So, look, I don't really think the shot into the water there was a big deal. I don't think that was a huge mistake. I understand going for it there. It was just unfortunate circumstance. Maybe the mistake was his second shot, not taking an unplayable there.
Let's round out this crew for this evening. Kyle Porter, I believe we have on the scene. If we could add him in here. There he is. Hello, Kyle.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
It's Tom Kim's world. We're all just living in it.
You want to know what world we're living in, Kyle, right now?
One where you can't hear me.
One where we're getting that horrible buzz from you.
I hate everything.
This is a recurring bit you do, right?
It's not a bit.
It's the AirPods.
How's it?
Try one more time.
Is that better?
Much better.
Yes.
So, Tom Kim starts the week talking about. Did you see his quote to start the week?
No. Which one?
I'm gonna pull it up. He didn't. It could have come off like kind of cocky. He didn't mean it like this, but he said on Wednesday, somebody said, "If things have changed for you, you're much more well known. Are you earning the balance of juggling all that?" Which is a good question. And Tom Kim says, "I mean, I'm always myself. The situation hasn't really changed of who I am a little bit. No, I don't really think it's changed for me. I think it's going to be the same way. Tiger has 82 wins on the PGA Tour. Until I get to 83,
Oof.
it's going to be hard for me to think a little different. So basically, I'm going to be the same guy until I get to 83 wins is what he said.
Well, at this pace, Kyle, that's like 6 years from now.
He's on his way. He's got 2 in his first 18 starts on the tour. He's a star. He's barely 20. I mean, they're talking on the broadcast. I think it was Steve Sands said, he's not even 21 yet. I was like, he's barely 20. Like he just turned 20 3 months ago. So I don't know, man. I'm pumped. I think the President's Cup stuff could be looked at as a little bit of empty calories if he doesn't go and sort of back it up with more PGA Tour success. And then he did it right away, which is really cool to see.
Yes, he did. Just turned 20 years old in June, and it makes 18 a lot easier, Mark, when you're seeing the debacle that Patrick Cantlay is in. So Tom Kim plays out to a safe spot, takes his 2 putts, and takes his second victory in his last 3 starts. And then you throw in everything he did at the President's Cup. It's a meteoric rise to where he's at in the game right now.
Yeah, and we mustn't overlook the fact that at the Genesis Scottish Open, he had about 4.5, 5 feet downhill to get into a playoff with Xander. And that will not get in the playoff to post with Xander still coming down 18, which was playing hard and back into the wind. And it's almost a situation there where if Kim makes that putt, he missed in the end, then it puts the extra pressure on Schauffele. And who knows, maybe then the result is a little different. So he finishes runner-up there and from then goes on this rise. And I just hearken back to the Wyndham where I had him for the final 9 holes. I was covering him. I was on the course with him. And I was actually awestruck would be the word as to how mature he was, how accurate he is from tee through green. He's not that long. Well, he's long enough, but if he's playing against elite golfers, he's spotting them or they a good 20, 30 yards off the tee. And you saw that at the President's Cup on that final hole where he had 2-iron in there. He whiffed the tee shot some. I talked to my brother some about it, and Sam Burns is going there with like wedge. So it's 2-iron versus wedge, yet he's still competitive. But the guy just putts so beautifully, and he is just so present all of the time. And he made some really nice putts coming down the stretch over there. There was one for birdie on the par 5. Then that one he made on the par 3, the 14th. That was just beautiful, man. Right to left, right into the heart, perfect pace. And then made an incredible up and down on 15. And I'm like, this guy's bulletproof. But then he doesn't birdie the par 5. That's understandable. But he just never loses pace. He never seems to get panicked. Everything stays right in front of him. And he's got all of this mental acumen to go with this tremendous game he has. And my brother mentioned to me, he's like, the guy's a lightning rod in the locker room, in the players' team room, and he's not afraid to poke fun at himself. He and Sung Jae and Siwoo, all of them the same way. But he's like, Tom Kim was just always up for it. And in the beginning of the week, Trevor said to Tom at the President's Cup, now this is, he goes, are you ready to make the winning putt? And Adam Scott was on hand, and Scotty jumped on this, and they would ask him this all the time. Are you ready to make the winning putt? And Kim would say, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And it turns out he didn't have that, but he had that putt for that crucial point on the Saturday evening. So it shows that this guy's up for it too. And, because everyone wants to make the winning putts, and you want the spotlight, right? But when that spotlight gets on you, bringing out your best is difficult, if not impossible. But now we've seen it twice where the spotlight's been on. He's been up against some guns, and he's come through almost looking impenetrable in a strange sort of a way.
When you win for the second time at 20 years, 3 months, and 18 days, Greg, it's going to be a Justin Ray field day. So here are a couple of my favorite nuggets. One, he did it bogey free. So last 2 players to win on the PGA Tour without dropping a single shot. Anyone? Kyle is on mute, but has his hand up.
Lee Trevino, JT Poston.
That is correct. JT Poston, 2019 Wyndham. Trevino, 1974. So it doesn't, happen super often. And then here's one for you, Greg. Oh, boy. The youngest 2-time PGA Tour winner from outside the U.S. since 1900. And the only other example Justin Ray could find with 2 credited PGA Tour winners from an international was young Tom Morris. We're back in young Tom Morris time.
Yeah, and that, if you haven't figured this out yet, is before the PGA Tour started.
Yes,
so
a little bit.
Yeah, it's a completely different time frame. This is look, it's elite stuff. Whether you look inside the U.S. or outside the U.S., it's unbelievable performances. And you think back to what took place in both of them. He started off with a quadruple bogey at the Wyndham and went on to win. It kind of it has its moment. I think he won by 5. He ended up dominating, and then this one going toe to toe with Patrick Cantlay and taking him down. Now, one of the golf courses Patrick Cantlay competes the best on. And I mean, you would not have expected what happened on 18, but he went toe to toe with him for the entire 72 holes. And bogey free is extremely impressive, but it's just looking through at his 9-hole scores. And he made 3 or more birdies on 6 of the 9 holes that he played. The last 9 he played, he only made 2 birdies. And on Friday afternoon, I'm actually not sure if that was afternoon or morning. I guess that was his afternoon, his second 9. He made 9 straight pars, but every other 9 had at least 3 birdies or more. It kind of highlights to me how difficult it is to win an event like this. You just have to keep piling up birdie after birdie after birdie after birdie, and you can't let down. I mean, he performs that way and stands on the 72nd hole tied. It boggles my mind, but his game is so strong, as Mark eloquently outlined.
Well, and I think he's got, do I sound okay?
You sound great for now.
Okay. I think he's got that really interesting balance between, they were talking about, I think it was your brother, Mark, Trevor, on the broadcast, talking about how he was trying so hard not to look at leaderboards. And he's got this weird, difficult balance to achieve between, he's not really excitable. Like, he doesn't get, some guys when you're 20, I mean, think about when we were all 20, like how excitable were you, right? But he is exciting. And so I think he meshes those two things really well in a way that I think is pretty difficult to do for a PGA Tour star, and so I think that to me is he's, I don't know if he's an old soul like Mark always talks about, but he definitely is a mature person in terms of being able to kind of handle the spotlight in ways that I don't know a ton of guys that would be able to do that at age 20.
I just want to add to that. If you really pay attention to him, and I know you do, Kyle, because you write and you read all the transcripts, he's fantastically well spoken. And he's very thoughtful too. You never get empty answers out of the guy either, because it's so easy when you're in that place to just give the random soundbite, and a lot of them never really answer questions anyway. And you've got a handful of guys that honestly do. And I wouldn't compare him to a Rory McIlroy, but to that maturity you reference, you listen to him in interviews. He's thoughtful, he's intelligent, and he speaks beautifully. And the guy, I mean, if I'm a marketeer, he is a marketeer's dream right now. He's international. Yeah. He's good looking. He plays great, speaks well. I mean, the guy's got it all. And seemingly, I hate to be this guy who's like going gaga and jumping on a train, but the world is at his doorstep right now. And basically whatever he wants, he commands that, Rick.
Yeah, and I think to that point, Mark, I noticed even at the it happened a couple times this week, but at the President's Cup especially, he got asked some questions that I thought were a little bit leading, like trying to lead a 20-year-old into stuff he shouldn't say, right? Somebody was like, "Hey, do you want JT tomorrow?" Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah, you
like,
can't say no, but you can't say yes.
that's unfair. And but he wouldn't. He refuses to kind of like play your games. But that doesn't mean he's bland. He's not bland. He still, like Mark was saying, he still gives great quotes. He's just also mature enough not to kind of walk into these traps that sometimes get set for players in the media center.
Speaking of excitable, Greg, I'm excited, right? And I think we got to do like a little bit of a wellness check here, right? Because it's easy to be a prisoner of the moment and watch Tom Kim just win the Wyndham. He's now won, twice in 3 PGA Tour starts, but we are kind of in uncharted territory. Justin Ray, fewest PGA Tour starts needed to get 2 wins since 1970. Robert Gamez, 13. Seve, 16. Tom Kim, 18. I mean, we're very much in like elite kind of territory at the moment here. I don't want to get too excited. How excited should I get?
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons to get very excited. We've mentioned many of them already. The one thing that I think plays in our favor to helping tame the expectations is the distance that he hits the ball. And I might compare it to like a Colin Morikawa distance, where he's a superstar and he's winning majors and getting himself into some of these elite competitions or elite, categories very early on. But you don't have that Tiger Woods kind of player where he's the best at everything. And so you still can look at some of the holes in his game, if you want to call him that, and say, well, maybe there are some golf courses that aren't going to suit him. I don't think you're going to look at Tom Kim every single week and say, well, he's going to win again. This is the next coming of Tiger Woods. 83 is really in play. I don't think that's not really where we're thinking with Tom Kim. And that's not to say he won't be a Hall of Famer. And I mean, who knows what kind of heights he goes to. I just think that helps tame the expectations that we have. The Wyndham Championship and this event are not the strongest field. It's not the Genesis and the Masters, for example, where there's still many steps for him to take in the next direction. So I think we have to be cautious with that and applaud him for what he's done so far, because it's been incredible and all of the accolades are very well earned. But I don't think we're looking at right now. I don't think we need to be getting excited like when Rory McIlroy first came out or like when Tiger first came out.
Well, I think it's, on the foot to kind of not push back on that maybe a little bit, Greg. It's not as if I hear you with the distance stuff, but it's also not as if he just caught 2 hot putting weeks, right? Like he is a flusher, like he flushes it. Oh. And he flushed it this week. And I think I think the question is he a Morikawa where you're like, okay, he's a threat, he's going to win majors, etc., or is he a Siwoo Kim who popped up around the same age? How old was he when he won the Players? Like 21?
23?
20.
No, he was younger.
He was younger than 23?
I think it was 22.
22. Okay.
Yes. Don't quote me.
I'll find out.
And so, Siwoo's had a good career, but it's been an inconsistent career. So I think my question with Tom Kim is the consistency there like I don't know. Morikawa didn't have a great 2022, but I think there is going to be consistency there from him over the next, 8-10 years. And so I think that part is, I don't know. I'm intrigued by that. I don't know which way it's going to go.
I'm sort of with you, Kyle. Tom Kim's game, to me, you guys can back me up with the stats. He has no weakness. He's got wonderful touch. He's a magnificent putter. He's very, very accurate. Yes, he's not long enough, but he's functionally long. And again, I think he's present enough mentally and emotionally to stay competitive, where Siwoo is a little mercurial, to be honest with you. The guy, he's high and low, and he's all over the show. And so when he's high and he's playing well, he'll win. And when you'll find him shooting 76s and 7s and stuff at times. So I think the comparison to Siwoo is kind of misfounded some. But just to pump the brakes a little bit here, you referenced the Robert Gomez Seve comparison. Look, Seve is a Hall of Famer, multiple major champion. Gomez, I know because he knows our family well, lives in Orlando. The guy is seeing chiropractors almost weekly for just tons and tons of injury he's had through his career. So, as I always say, this is Tom Kim. He's young, he's fresh. I wish him a long time with no injury. And along those lines, Greg, I don't see a golf swing that puts a whole lot of stress on his body. I really don't.
No.
And so as a result, I feel like he may be sort of injury averse, but you never really know that for certain.
Siwoo was 21 when he won the Players' Championship, youngest to ever win it. Here's the other sick part about this. We have just, for 21 minutes, discussed the rarefied air that Tom Kim sits in. 2 wins in 18 starts. That's, Greg, by my math, 11.1% of his starts. So to get to 83, that's 750 starts. If he continues to win 11% of his events, which would be absolutely bonkers. 750 events, if he plays 35 a year, is 21 years from now. So what we just discussed is like this most amazing start ever. He needs to do that for 21 more years to catch Tiger Woods.
Well, I mean, that's the Tiger thing that's amazing that doesn't get talked about a ton is I don't have the numbers. I bet he played less than any other superstar from maybe any era, certainly of his. I think Phil played twice as many events as Tiger did, right? And you see that in the percentage of tournaments won. Phil won like, I want to say 7-8% of his tournaments, which is extraordinary. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And Tiger tripled that. He was at
Tiger
20,
numbers are nothing.
He was at 22, 23, 24%. I don't know what he is overall now, but that he kind of lived at that number for 15 straight years, which is stupid.
I have how many events he played right in front of me. So we'll start in 97, 21, 20, 21, 20, 19, 18, 18, 19, 21, 15, 16, 6. He had 6 in 2008. He played 6 events.
He won like 5 of them. Yeah, he won. Yeah.
And a major. 17, 12, 9, 19, 16, 7, 11. I mean, he didn't play more than 20 events after 2005.
Yeah.
Hey, KP, speaking of long-term bets, where are we on the Justin Thomas bet? How long we still got?
We got 8. Well, we got 7 more years, I guess. Hey, just let that wine ferment. It's going to be really tasty for whoever gets it.
I gotta make a hard pivot here because Kyle, you've got other responsibilities. You have a heart out, but I couldn't let you out of here without talking about Eugenio Lopez Chacarra getting his first professional victory. LIV Golf Bangkok, right? I mean, this is a highly talented young golfer who everybody saw this great future for. He made the decision to go and play for LIV Golf. He just cashed his first victory.
Yeah, he did. I didn't watch it. It was in the middle of the night. I was on a father-son trip this weekend. I did watch LIV put together a kind of a 20-minute highlight video, and I watched almost all of that. He's a good player. I think it's hard to kind of contextualize what he did. What does winning LIV Bangkok mean? Is it the same as winning Memorial? No. Is it the same as winning Colonial? Probably not. Like, what is the context there? I think that part is really difficult. And, I think the weird part about watching it, Rick, is you're watching it and you're thinking, man, he's kind of interesting. He's good. He's got some tools. Am I ever going to see him in a major? And maybe you will. Like maybe they get OWGR points. Maybe he qualifies for the U.S. Open through locals and sectional. I don't know, but because we contextualize everything in professional golf by the major championships, your mind immediately got. I mean, that's where my mind was going with Tom Kim today. I looked up, okay, how did he do in the majors this year? How does that set up for him next year? And maybe that's unfair, but that's just sort of the way things are. And so I think I find a little bit of disappointment in there for as good as the win was. And I think it was a solid win. I think there is some kind of sadness in there for whether you might never get to see him in a major championship.
One more thing, Kyle, then I'll get you out of here and we'll circle back on this on the other side as well. But do you think a victory like this for a young golfer who just turned pro and gave up his opportunity to play on the PGA Tour, at least in the foreseeable future, does that impact other young golfers' decisions? This is a pipeline of professional golfers that come out of Oklahoma State. Do they see that and say, okay, maybe I'm more likely to do X, Y, or Z?
Has to, right? I mean, it has to affect them going to LIV because, all of a sudden he's 22. He won $4.5 million or whatever the team thing was also. And, he wouldn't be. I mean, it's very improbable to do that on the PGA Tour. You couldn't do it in one event. Could you put 10 events together and win $4.5 million? I don't know. But I think to me, Rick, it's a little bit of I think it shines a light on some of the holes that the PGA Tour has of getting getting younger, good players into their pipeline immediately. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, but they've got so many of these guys that are, late 30s, 40s, have played 400, 500 events. And it's like, okay, I kind of know what that guy is, right? And you have to create a structure, I think, where you get new, young, exciting talent into the league more quickly. That's what every professional league does, right? NBA, NFL, all these different leagues. And I don't think they've done a very good job of that. And so to me, it kind of shined a light on how the PGA Tour needs to perhaps find a way to figure out how to do that better.
Hey, just as an aside off the subject, Kyle, did you notice, speaking of Chikara, unless my eyes were deceiving me, he had a Big 12 shirt on, so was wearing an OSU Cowboys shirt. I mean, I find this curious. Here's a guy, he's everyone was looking for the world out of the guy. He's still wearing college golf shirts when he's playing on a professional tour. I did find that curious.
Well, not only that, he was wearing a Golf Saudi hat.
I saw that.
An Oklahoma State Big 12 shirt, an Oklahoma State belt, and dress socks with his FootJoys. I mean, whatever. I don't care about the shorts thing. If you want to wear shorts, but it looked like me going to play after, blogging for 9 hours with my son. It was just, it's very I don't know. Maybe they'll have uniforms next year. Maybe they'll have some sort of dress code, but it's not the most important thing to care about, but it did look kind of goofy. I want to know why one other apparel company has not been falling over themselves to get to him if he was that appealing, I guess is the thought behind my question. Yeah, I agree. I had that same thought because if you have a Golf Saudi shirt and a Golf Saudi hat and an Oklahoma State shirt, that tells me you haven't had any offers from anybody, right? That's not great.
We'll noodle on that. We'll put a bow on a couple of items on the other side. We still have our betting preview to do. We still have a lot more to go, but Kyle, we're going to let you get out of here. Thanks for bopping on. He is available on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS, and we will be back with more. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Try that again. And we're back. So we'll put a bow on the LIV conversation here, Greg. And I have one more. Actually, do want to circle back to the PGA Tour for one more thing, Mark, as well. But the structure around PGA Tour U, that's kind of the feeder system for the college guys to get access to tour status earlier now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the way it is structured now, which could certainly change, is the top 5 on that PGA Tour U standings are going to get their card on the Corn Ferry. And that is kind of a little bit of the PGA Tour's defense from some of these highly touted, young, great collegiate players saying, I'm going to go do what Chikara did.
Yeah, and it used to be various PGA Tour properties, right? You might get some starts on the Mackenzie Tour, or some of the PGA Tour Latino America, or some other starts, some other places like that. But getting full status on the Corn Ferry Tour is you're one step away, which I think is a really fair way to do it. And in answering this question, it's really difficult to look at what happened with Chikara winning whatever he won, whatever his signing bonus was, and say, well, financially, the best move for me is LIV Golf. But the apparel company is one thing, and also the name recognition. He, to me, is sadly not a star, no matter what he does on LIV Golf, because there's no way to contextualize it, as Kyle said, and there's no rung to compare it to, and you'll never know what it really means unless you see him start to play in majors and really contend. And boy, that puts a lot of pressure on 2 to 4 events a year, however many you end up playing in. So I think it's like, I don't feel like we're missing that from the PGA Tour, because we never knew it. I don't think that he was a star, as highly touted as he is. I don't think he was a star in the country when he was playing in college. I mean, Matt Wolff, Victor Hovland, and Colin Morikawa were hardly, they were very well known, but they weren't really stars until they came out and had their early success on the PGA Tour. And when you're in front of a lot of people, a really big audience, that's when stars are born. You get out onto the stage and stars are created on the PGA Tour, in majors, sometimes on the DP World Tour, but primarily the PGA Tour. And this is an event in Bangkok where you're talking about, 16,000 people watching at sometimes, under 100,000 people watching worldwide. And that makes it very challenging for sponsors to get behind. It's going to make it hard to get into television advertisements, get involved with these companies. And again, that's like a big part of that is finances. But there's something more to it. You become a brand when you're attached with these companies, and there's something more to it than just the finances, and it helps people grow. And unfortunately, if I'm a college kid, the easy road is LIV Golf, but the road to really do something meaningful is going to the Corn Ferry Tour, and getting onto the PGA Tour and putting your work in and becoming what Tom Kim became. It's something really valuable. A real star in our game is Tom Kim, and Chikara is not, in my opinion.
Mark, since the last time we've chatted, there has been an attempt for LIV to get themselves in the OWGR rankings, and that attempt has also been shut down. It all happened within like 3 days. Here's the recap of that. LIV essentially partnered with the MENA Tour. If you have not heard of it, that's spelled MENA, Middle East and North Africa. It's a tour that was essentially shut down during the COVID shutdown. They have not played since 2020, and they formed some type of strategic alliance with LIV Golf, where the MENA Tour submitted their schedule to include this event here in Bangkok and the upcoming event in Jeddah. And that was an attempt by the OWGR to say, look, the MENA Tour, that's already an OWGR sanctioned tour. So if we're on their schedule, we should get points. It didn't work. It didn't work, Mark, because the OWGR, which they rarely do, released a statement that basically said, yes, while this is while the MENA Tour is part of the structure, for a change like this, it triggers another review. I can find the verbiage, but needless to say, they did not get points for Bangkok, and they will not be getting points for Jeddah.
Yeah, you know what it smacks of to me, because you know me, I tend to look at the shadow side of things a little bit more. I guess it's the golf instructor inside, where you got to consider the whole picture, and we could go and talk about what the World Golf Rankings body said, and the craftiness of Greg Norman to try and conjure up this idea. But what it says is that Norman has promised his guys, the LIV guys, that they're going to get world ranking points. And now things aren't working out, and they are trying anything. And they are trying anything to legitimize what they're doing. And look, it was pretty savvy of Norman, let's be honest. But it also shows that money can buy some small tour as well, because I'm sure there was a handsome payday at the end of it for all of them. So it sort of smacks of desperation some. I think it also sort of speaks to maybe what the mood in the camp is like, because I love what Greg had to say, where I switched on my phone this morning to see what the result was, because I wasn't going to wake up in the middle of the night to watch golf from Bangkok. So, you know, when you got a situation like that, it really narrows the audience size. And so you got to be a real golf lover to want to watch something like that in the middle of the night. So there's a whole lot of undercurrent to me going on right now, which I think the players may be a little aggravated about it. There are a number of players that have removed themselves from that lawsuit that's still ongoing there in Northern California. And so what seemed like a pretty well-oiled thing that seemed to want to be going in the right direction between Greg, the Saudi money, and the players, looks like it's splintering just a little bit right now. And I'll tell you, from having worked with these professional golfers, they're used to getting their way. And if you tell them one thing and it doesn't happen, they start getting a little aggravated. I don't care what their payday was. And so that's sort of what I took from this whole the most recent saga, Rick.
The MENA Tour thing really, it bothered me in a way. And I don't understand. It didn't bother me that they did it. I mean, that doesn't really mean anything to me. But the idea that this was some kind of, clever move, and we're expecting in these statements, we're expecting to get world ranking points. It's really short-sighted to me. It's not understanding the picture, right? I think there's a real lack of understanding from their side about why they don't have ranking points right now. One is, well, time. If they had if they had all the boxes checked, it still takes time and it has for everybody. They're not the first ones where it takes time. And the second thing is they look at this from a perspective of, well, if we have the players, we should have the points, but they're not taking into account the format. And if you're ranking players that are playing different formats, it becomes very difficult to kind of stack them up and order them. And, to the point I made last Friday on Sirius XM was the PGA Tour is a sanctioned OWGR tour, but not every event they play gets OWGR points, right? The Zurich Classic, they give full FedEx Cup points. Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele won it last year, but it's a team event, so they don't get OWGR points because they're playing a different format that doesn't classify. It doesn't qualify. So getting the MENA Tour involved is it's not a clever idea to me. It's a silly idea to me, unless there's some other benefits. There very well may be, and I don't know what their full intentions are there, but I don't think it's a clever way to get OWGR points at all. I mean, and they already had the Asian Tour as well. And what's the difference there? I cannot find an answer to that.
Well, here's the thing, Greg. I think it's Greg's options for these points, which is what the players want, because they got their money now, and now they're watching their rankings slide, and they wanted points. That was the promise. You play in majors, and you're going to get all this money, right? So now this is not happening. What it speaks to your observation, is that Greg has had so many options, and one by one they're going away. The lawsuit is fizzling. Well, it's still there, but all the players are dropping out, which tells me that deep down they don't believe in the thing and they don't want to be associated with it. Now the MENA Tour was like, well, I got to try something.
Oh, it's great for the MENA Tour, right?
Yeah, it created a situation where the vast majority of the MENA Tour purses were $75,000 and the LIV ones were $20 million. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit. So when you look at the schedule on
average
a
went
piece of
up.
paper, yeah, the average did go up. There's kind of a funny joke for people who are trying to lose weight that says, I'll do anything to lose weight but diet and exercise, which are obviously like the two things you need to do.
Yeah.
It's like LIV will do anything for OWGR points except 72 holes and a cut. Like,
Right.
I feel like we could have had this done and in the books by now if they would play 72 holes and have a cut.
Well, just to add to what Greg said, yeah, 72 holes in a cut, but then you go through the review process for 2 years, whatever it's going to take. Every other tour has gone through that. So what suddenly makes LIV special that they can say, just because we got top players, you must circumvent the process that everyone else has gone through. That's just not fair.
Drives me nuts.
I imagine there will be more in the near future, so we'll keep an eye out for those. Okay, gents, one final thing to do. We are going to recap our little money-making challenge. That's where we go and we assign our dollars to specific matchups and finishing positions and outrights. So we have a recap of that, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Mark, before I jump into this recap, it is not lost on me that the international team had quite a great result in Las Vegas. Tom Kim wins. Let's see who else we have here. Mito Pereira, T4. Sung Jae Im, 7th. Siwoo, T8. Lots of guys in the mix for the majority of this event.
Yeah. And golf is the ultimate game of confidence. And all of these guys were in an environment where, look, they didn't win, but they're spending time around guys like Hideki and Adam Scott. My brother's a major champion, and they're learning from these guys, gleaning off it. And then they've had their chance to shine. And they've proven to themselves that on one of the biggest of stages, they could make it and could hit the shots required. And oftentimes situations like that are that strange something that people can never quantify that helps the player break through to the next level. Because that's the biggest thing in golf and sport. You're always trying to aim for that next level, and sometimes all the data and stuff in the world can't help you quantify what you actually have to do. But sometimes it's just a different viewpoint of self or a little bit more confidence. And that event, when I spoke with my brother right after the tournament, he was on my podcast some, and he was pretty pragmatic about the fact that he goes, there's a lot of players come out of that locker room on Sunday evening or Monday morning. They apparently had IV bags for them after the party because they went at it pretty hard.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so they had IVs. He said when they left, they were all on top of the world, even though they lost, because they were coming out there with a self-belief. So yeah, it's cool to see it. But the truth is, I wasn't that surprised whatsoever. And if I had a chance to put some money on this thing, I probably would have went with some of those President's Cup players because they're coming in here with high confidence.
Well, yes, you guys are, depending on how you look at this, you missed out on an opportunity or you're off the hook because you were not involved in the betting challenge this week, but we can recap it here. The coach lost with Emiliano Grillo over Christian Bezuidenhout. So he tried to attack an international team member. That did not go so well. He did get a finishing position victory. Tom Kim, top 20. Greg, not enough respect for Tom Kim. Only top 20. Went on one thing.
Well, hey, it's rather safe. But boy, you're missing out now. You wish his name was in a different column.
The outrights for coach Taylor Montgomery, KH Lee, those both obviously failed to cash. Mark Patrick did not have himself a good week. He actually picked a matchup against Tom Kim, which I can assure you, no matter who he picked, did not work out that well. It was Davis Riley, but when you pick against the guy who wins, that's a tough look.
Yeah, it certainly is. I just remember wasn't a dust up that Patrick and I had week prior for Sanderson Farms, where he went Wyndham Clark across the board and Clark missed the cut. And I'm like, eesh, that's got to sting some. I didn't have the best week either, but the guy you were sort of setting all your lineups on was at the weekend off.
Sam Ryder, top 20. That was a loser for Patrick, along with 2 outrights, Denny McCarthy, KH Lee. So Patrick will look to bounce back next week. He is now just in the negative for the season. I had myself a decent week. Tom Kim over Siwoo Kim, which Greg came down to. If you would have told me Tom Hoagie's going to finish T4, I'd be very thrilled. I had to sweat this thing out the whole way.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a nice win. I like what you did. Read your other picks, Rick, because I like what you did here. You had a nice strategy.
Matthew Neesmith, top 20, 3-1. And then my outrights were Emiliano Grillo and Seamus Power.
Yeah, you went heavy on the iron play, which is really cool and really wise. And it played out brilliantly. So I love the Neesmith pick. We talked about him on Monday. But seeing Neesmith and Hoagie right there, T2 and T4, Mito, T4. You got Sung Jae there at 7th, which isn't a surprise. And SH Kim, by the way, what a golf swing. But what a golf. But beside the point, the iron play worked. So it was a really nice model. You just wish you had Tom Kim over there in one of the outrights.
That pesky Tom Kim. So for the season, that moves me to 54% ROI. Coach drops to negative 21.4. Patrick minus 4.4. And Greg, one of these weeks, we're going to get you involved in this. Haven't had your picks in yet. Yeah.
I'm getting in. I'm going to have a great record after the first week.
I need to fix my record. I've had 5 bets and none of them cashed.
Yes. The good news is you've only done, I believe, 1 week, Mark. So we've got plenty of room, plenty of time, and plenty of room to make up for that.
Plenty.
Okay, gentlemen. Anything else before we get out of here on anything that happened this week? Going once.
Big week. 2 things. 1, so impressed with SH Kim's golf swing. That kind of blew me away. I hadn't really seen it before this week. 2, it was really cool to see him with KH Lee and who else was he with? Sung Jae at the end there. And I think that it gives me some hope in the future for the international team that you have, that pipeline is replenishing. And with a talent like that, I mean, we're a long way away from him being on the next President's Cup team, but it was cool to see him hanging with that gang, that group of guys. I think that goes a long way. It was nice to see Jason Day play really well, another international potential. Although I don't know where he'll be in 2 years, but I was moved by both of those things.
I'll tell you what, last Trevor reference for this thing, he did mention to me that the 4 Koreans on that international President's Cup team, they were sort of the gel to the team. He's like in the team room, they were just electric. They were having fun, all sorts of, shenanigans all the time. When they got out and played, they wanted the ball and they were up for it, and they all showed up. They all played well. And that was 4 of them in the last. So it was basically a third of the 12. Add SH Kim in there, and maybe 1 or 2 more. I mean, you might have a team that's predominantly South Korean the next when they arrive in Canada in a few years' time. And I'll tell you what, bring that on, because they are coming through thick and fast now. And if they continue to do like the girls in the LPGA have, man, the future bodes well for men's golf over there.
We didn't even mention that Patrick Cantlay had a putt for 59. Sorry, Patrick, should have made it, and then you could have gotten on the show. Missed it on the pro side though, I believe. Missed it on the top side, which I guess is the nice caveat for a 60. But
yeah. I don't think it matters which side he missed on, Rick. It was still 60.
And you didn't tell us, because it's in your stumping, your neck of the woods there, and you and me were walking around the golf course. I saw pictures. Weather looked ideal.
Oh, it was great. It was great. It was awesome. I was out there every day. Yeah, the weather couldn't have been better. Listen, if you like to watch these guys go low, you're going to get an opportunity to watch them take apart TPC Summerlin. So if you want to see a lot of birdies and get up close and personal, because there's some pretty good, the way they have the rope set up, you can get pretty much anywhere you want. It was a great week. It was a great week.
Did you stay hydrated?
Oh my God. I'm the king of like double fist in waters. That and sunscreen. I reapply sunscreen every 6 minutes and I chug a water every 5 minutes.
Wow. You're busy.
I got no time to watch golf or do anything else. Yeah. I had no time. Zozo next week, Japan. So they're going to Japan. Then they're coming back to Congaree for the CJ Cup. Hideki is going to look to defend. And this will be the 3rd time that we see, Accordia Narashino Country Club.
Yes,
because we played
cool
Sherwood
venue.
1 year. Yeah, very
really
cool
venue.
Two
Difficult
greens.
viewing windows, but cool, really cool venue.
yes, it'll be overnight, which will be tough.
Yeah, a little bit nocturnal there, but hey,
Mm.
it's great golf this time of year.
Love that. Okay, that'll do it. Big thanks to producer Troy, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman, available on Twitter at Mark_Immelman. Greg Ducharme can be found at The Real GFD, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.